I'm riding on my horse. Riding on the horse.
Yeehaw! Hi, Chaparral! Put your hands up, you varmint!
All right, we got marathon. All right, let's go ahead and bring Luke up. That's why I couldn't find him. All right.
Let's see on mine end. There he is. Welcome, Luke. Folks, it's such a pleasure to be with you here at our usual time being a Tuesday, year of our Lord, the 25th of October 2022. From South Africa, my name is Chris Snell. Across from me, the Belle of the South, Daniela Park, and this is Doing It Sober Live. Before we get to the guest, we'd like to remind our audience members, if you'd like to participate in a Q&A with any of our guests, you're more than welcome to. It's like a call-in radio show. The only difference is Larry King is no longer with us. So with that, Luke is with us in the audience. Let's introduce him. Let me just paraphrase a couple of things. For both constituents of normality and early recovery, let's be honest here, it's an unpopular war. In the Big Book, a passage has even been dedicated as to how simpler times may have been. That is, when the sanity of the first drink was the order of the day. Now, with the last couple of years especially, all barriers have been stripped and deeds laid bare. Settle, don't get any ideas. Now, an uncertain future looms on the horizon, although that notion should be replaced with the beauty of the Savannah as to indicate what potential is to be found. But like building a muscle, or even in today's world of small businesses building a brand, the keys to success, according to the Australian rugby union coach and omnipresent commentator Alan Jones, the keys to success are the 3 Ps. Pressure, or as I was taught, proper planning prevents poor performance. You can pick which one's most appropriate to you. Luc Zoratto, a rising Canadian hobby athlete, understands this very well, not only in his athletics, but as well as in life. Having achieved sobriety since the year of our Lord 2016, Luke today is a doting family man, as well as a devotee to his well-being. He chats to us about his history with AUD and how his devotion to running has aided his recovery. Luke, welcome.
Thank you so much. Well, that was beautifully read and written. Did you write that, Chris? Daniela? That was very nice.
I did.
Well done.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Well done.
That's
Whereabouts in Canada are you from, Squire?
I can take the credit.
Daniela, that was all you?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was not me.
No.
That's why I picked Chris to be my partner in crime, you know?
Yeah, that's great. Make a good team, right?
And I can't say no to that face.
Yes, we do.
So to answer your question, I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Home to one of the best radio duos.
All our Canadian friends.
Yeah, have you had a lot of Canadian guests recently?
Quite a lot, yeah. We've had a lady on from, she began in Montreal, but resides in Toronto currently. Her name is Alex Talbot. We've had Jay Barnard,
who's
also from...
I know Alex.
We've also had Jay Barnard, but he hails from Kenora in Ontario, which is about an hour away from Toronto.
Yeah.
So we've had quite a couple.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Well, again, thank you for having me.
Only a pleasure.
Yeah.
Only a pleasure.
So where did it all start? Like what, were you an alcoholic and a drug addict, or were you just an alcoholic?
So I've kind of gone back and forth with that. At first in my recovery, I would say I was an alcoholic, but the more I've kind of gone through the process in recovery, it's been this December will be 6 years. I don't say that I'm an alcoholic. Thank you. It's gone by so fast and slow at the same time. It's been so weird, but I don't label myself as an alcoholic. I label myself as someone who struggled with AUD, which is alcohol use disorder. So I never craved alcohol. Like I could go a long time back in my drinking days I've retired from
Mm-hmm.
my drinking career. I peaked early in my drinking career, so I've since retired. But yeah, I never, like, when I was drinking, I never craved alcohol. Like, if I had a tough day at school or tough day at work, where I would come home and
Mm-hmm.
I just needed to have a drink, or if I was watching a game, I needed to have a drink. For me, it was like more of a use disorder. So when I started, like when I would have one, when I would have two, it was a really slippery slope, and it was a dangerous game, and I just never knew,
Yeah.
what drunk version of myself I would get. Right? They weren't all
Mm-hmm.
bad nights or bad episodes or blackouts. Not every single time I had a beer, it would lead to 12, but there was a good chance, more than 40%, close to 50%, at a social event, a party, a wedding, a large gathering, that I just didn't know how to control it. Like, I would just, I had no off switch. So I would start, and
Yeah.
my nights would often end in blackout, or, just running out of alcohol, or just waking up the next morning, just being like, what did I do? What did I say? So that's kind of why I don't really label myself as an alcoholic. Maybe to some that is an alcoholic, but for me, it was just the
Sure.
alcohol use disorder kind of resonates a bit better with me.
Oh, well, tomato,
So
tomato,
when did
potato,
it become a
potato.
problem?
What's that? Sorry.
when when did it become a problem where you said, "Hi, Justin"? When you said, "Okay, I just want to not do this anymore." Like, what happened, basically?
Yeah. So, I've had, looking back, I've had a lot of different phases in my kind of drinking career, as I like to say, right? In my teens, I felt
Yeah.
like it was just about, fitting in, right? So drinking
Hmm.
was, very normal. So I didn't, just regular party stuff. And then I would say my 20s, I was kind of, finding myself, getting my confidence, and I was just, realizing pretty quickly, in university, in my early 20s, that I wasn't doing much socially without alcohol.
Hmm.
Parties, just
Okay.
gatherings, or whatever the case was. I always found myself drinking, and again, I didn't really think of it as a problem in my 20s.
Right.
I would say I started realizing it was a problem. Well, I mean, in my 20s too, like, I had girlfriends. I had a lot of girlfriends, different girlfriends, and
Mm.
we would fight a lot about my drinking. So it wasn't not a problem, but I
Okay.
didn't accept it as a
Yeah.
problem. I didn't accept it as a problem probably until my 30s. Um,
Hmm.
and that's when I got introduced to drugs. Cocaine was my
Oh,
drug of
okay.
choice. So that's when
Mm.
things
Okay.
really, really escalated for me. The drinking, it's like,
Yeah.
drinking alone was not good. Like, I, still black out, do a lot of stupid stuff and embarrassing and all that
Hmm.
stuff. But it wasn't until my early 30s that I got introduced to drugs, that I would just transform into this other person. And I knew that at that point, it's like, I need to do something.
Right.
And
And you
what
were married at that
particularly?
point, right?
So yeah, we got married, and my wife and I, we've been dating since 2011. So
Hmm.
in April of 2011, we started dating, and we got married in September of 2016. So for those call it 5 years or so, when we were dating, I was drinking a lot,
Yeah.
and it wasn't until probably, what year would that have been? You know, a few years after we started dating, that I started doing drugs, and
Hmm.
it was just a really tough time for me, especially personally. And I put my girlfriend at the time, through a lot.
Yeah.
Dealing with somebody who's
Mm.
struggling with drugs and
Mm.
alcohol, it's, I can't even imagine what that's like, because I was a horrible
God bless her soul.
boyfriend. And seriously,
Yeah.
honestly, God bless her
Yeah.
soul. And she's played such a huge part in my recovery. And I've had a lot of people, messaging me here and there, just about my wife, and does she drink? Does she not drink? Because a lot of people are starting to know that I'm sober, because I'm pretty vocal about it. And, you know, not I love talking about
Yeah.
it. It's part of who I am.
Yeah.
But
You're
they ask
great
me a
at
lot.
it
It's like,
too.
oh, I really enjoy it. Like, and it does so much for my own mindset, my own sobriety. So they ask me a lot, like, how
Yeah.
is it, with your wife? Does your wife drink and all that? And, my wife never had a problem with alcohol. She never had a problem. And my recovery is a me thing, right? It's for me. It's not for her.
Yeah.
So she still
Well
drinks, but
said.
she still drinks, but she's not a heavy drinker by any means. Like she hardly ever drinks,
Right.
but social events, parties, weddings, she's drinking and she's doing shots and she's having fun. And, sometimes she gets a little,
Yeah.
I don't want to say carried away, but she has fun, right? She'll have like, 6, 7, 8
I was
drinks in a
about to
night.
say she's fun.
But
Yeah.
yeah, she's fun. And she knows when that, okay, it's time to go home. It's time, so I didn't have that. So,
Yeah.
you know,
The
so yeah, I feel
disease.
for my wife because she was with me for so long when I was struggling. And I'm just so thankful for myself, first of all, that I was able to turn my life around. And for her that she's, with somebody who's consistent. I think that's the theme of someone who's sober is you're just consistent. When I was drinking,
Yes.
like I could be totally fine for a long time, and then there'd just be an episode, or there'd be another episode, and it's just not something I wanted anymore. And I'm so glad that I put the work in and I did what I needed to do to be here, sitting here talking to you both today.
What was your
So
route of
the day that
recovery?
you quit, what happened?
So sorry, can you say it again?
The day that you
We're
quit,
like a marriage.
like,
Yeah.
I'm just going to talk over you, Chris. No.
That's okay. You can do it.
Yeah.
By the way, I can't see you.
Sorry, babe.
I can't see you on camera for some reason, but we'll deal with that later.
Is that me?
The day that you got sober, like that actual day, what was it? Because I know it's not something that you go, okay, tomorrow or the next day. It just kind of happens, right?
Yeah.
Did that happen for you?
Absolutely.
Or?
So I was struggling for a while, and I was really working on moderating my drinking for a long time. I got professional help. I was seeing, a therapist for some time, and it was around, moderating my drinking. Because I'm, my background being half Italian, half French Canadian, very social cultures, love to entertain, love having people over, making dinner, making, big events. Like they just love, that's my family. That's how I was raised, very social. So,
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to go sober. Like that was never on my mind. So when I was going through therapy, we were working on controlling my drinking, right? Like Chris, it's funny, right?
Yeah.
I was
Right.
working on
Controlling your drinking. Wow, that's interesting.
controlling my drinking. And I tried for so long. I tried for so long to control my drinking. And like I said, I was seeing a professional. I was investing my time. Oh, you got a little laugh background there. I was investing my time, I was investing, my, financially. I was really into it. And I was like committed to like, okay, I'm going to moderate my drinking. It just was not, it just wasn't working out.
Yeah.
So when that day came, so it kind of answer your question, I guess, when that day came, December 31st, it was like an accumulation of like, I would say a good year and a half of really trying to focus on not drinking as much. And then it was just like, it was just it was around the holidays, right? December 31st, just before New Year's Eve, right? And just after Christmas, there was a lot of social events, and I had a couple of really, really bad episodes where I just woke up and I was just like, wow, wow. Let me explain a little bit more. So I woke up feeling like absolute death, felt absolutely horrible, so much anxiety, so much shame. I just felt so bad that I woke up that morning and I went on Google and I was like, I need to find another therapist and I need to see them now. And I got lucky. I Googled, I live in Toronto, right? Very large city. So somebody was working that day and I went to go see them. They weren't far from my house. I was there within an hour of Googling this therapist. I was at his office, and it was, like I said,
I call
it was
that
fresh
a
after.
shot.
Honestly, it was like the timing, this person, it was the perfect scenario in the sense that I had, like I said, struggled for so long. So it was always in my head about things aren't working. I was to a point where I said, I need another therapist. Like, it's almost like I needed another opinion. So I went to see someone else, and then just just after we kind of had our first, discussion and getting to know each other, we went deep right away. And he looked at me the way no one has ever looked at me before. And he just said, Luke, you could never be drinking again. And just those words,
Wow.
nobody had ever said that to
Wow.
me. Nobody. And people knew I was struggling. Friends, my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, like so many people knew I was struggling, but no one ever said that. And the way he said it in the moment, again, I was coming off of a bender. I was probably very, emotional. Like I was in the right mindset. And even in that moment, I was debating him. And I was saying, like, are you crazy? My exact words, I think, were, are you crazy? I just told you I'm half Italian, half French Canadian. Like, that won't fly. There's no way. There's no way I cannot drink. I need to like figure out this. And the way he said it, anyways, we finished the session. I went back to my car, and I started crying. I just could not
Sure.
stop crying because I knew that what this man was saying, he was right. So that's when the kind of journey started. That, like, again, the thought of never drinking again still scares me. Like, I never say I'm never drinking again. It's terrifying. But I was open to the process. I was open to what he had to say. So I continued seeing him. I started doing group therapy, hearing others, and that whole process. And here I am. Almost, December will be 6 years. And
Wow.
if I just think of my life, now, I'm just so blessed, fortunate, that I was able to kind of get out of that dark hole that I was in. And I have a beautiful 3-year-old daughter who's never met daddy, never met drunk daddy, because I got sober before she was born. My relationship with my wife is, we still fight with like any relation, but it's never been stronger. My relationships with my family, just who I am, my career, my athletics, I got really into sports. So it's like if I just look back, like my life has never been. I never felt so happy in my life, and it's funny because I felt like, I used drugs and alcohol to feel a certain way, right? You want to feel good. You want to feel confident.
Correct.
That's you're chasing that, like, that feeling. And that's why I drank. Like I said, I was a social drinker. So I wanted to feel a certain way. And like the feeling that sobriety has given me, I've never been more confident. Like I've never been more confident. I've never
It
been
beams out of
so,
you.
Oh yeah,
honestly, I
you're
feel it.
confident,
I
but
feel
in
it.
a good
I
way.
feel it.
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you. I
it's
know, because
amazing.
confidence and arrogance, like I'm definitely not arrogant. I honestly take pride in the fact
No,
that saying it makes me sound maybe a little arrogant, but I really,
Not at
I
all.
feel like I don't have an ego. Like I don't.
No, you don't.
And anyways, that aside, I'm just really happy how things worked out. And that's why I'm so vocal. That's why it's like, I'm
yeah,
so vocal now, right? On my Instagram account, I
it's
want others
wonderful.
to
I mean,
know.
it's enjoyable to watch. I like it.
I want,
It's
Well, why do you
really good
think we
stuff
have
that
the
you put
show?
out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I want
So,
others to, like.
you're a
Sorry,
marathon runner, right?
yeah.
You're a marathon
So
runner?
I
Okay,
am.
well, were
I
you a
got into it.
marathon runner before?
No, I hated running.
No?
I hated running. I never ran.
Well, tell us.
Good. Ditto. Ditto.
I hated running. It's
That's
funny. So
amazing.
I played a lot of like sports growing up. A lot of hockey. Played, very competitive hockey.
Yeah.
In Canada, everyone plays hockey. So I played a lot of
Of
hockey. Played
course.
a lot of team sports. But if I'm being honest, I thought running was for the unpopular people. Like you're running on your own for so long. I had no interest in running. Zero. And I got into running in just before my third year of sobriety, just before my
Well
third
done.
year. And I had a friend who was an Ironman athlete, like an incredible athlete, one of my best friend. And he was like, Luke,
Yeah.
and I was kind of like doing a lot of exercise. Like I used to work out a lot, even when I was drinking. Like in my drinking years,
Yeah.
I was always in the gym. I always had a good job, and I managed to kind of survive and not let it affect my work too much. So from the outside, I didn't really look like, again, an alcoholic or somebody struggling with alcohol. So, but I hid it. That's kind of the problem. I was really good at hiding it. I was really good at, other than, the immediate family or my wife or my girlfriend who would see those really bad episodes. Like my friends, half of them
Mhm.
didn't know I struggled with alcohol. So anyways, to answer your question about running, it's like, yeah, I got into running, and that just completely changed my sobriety, my outlook on, my
Mm.
mindset. It's been the
Mm,
best thing, like running,
mm.
and it provides so much structure. Like I really got into
It
it. Like I said,
does.
if I'm gonna start running, I'm gonna really take it seriously. And and like I said, I didn't have much running
Mm.
experience, but I just like my my personality is very much 0 or 100%. If I'm gonna do something, I'm either gonna do 100%, or I'm just not gonna do it. So it's like this running thing. It's like I took it as 100% because I started liking it. I got a coach,
Yeah.
a virtual coach, who just helps me with my plan.
Mhm.
So every workout is structured, and then I just been working so hard at it, and I just love it.
Mm.
And it's provided me so much clarity, and I really feel that sobriety and athletics, sport, anything, they go
They
like
go hand in
so
hand.
well. They go hand in hand. And my sober community
Yeah.
and my running community, I'll tell you right now, they're the most positive, self-aware, open-minded, welcoming, non-judgmental. And that's the running community too. It's like you're seeing somebody run. It doesn't matter how fast you run, how long you're running. You're putting your shoes on. You're getting out the door. Same with sobriety. We don't care if you've
Yes.
been sober 0 days or 1,000 days. It's just you have that mutual respect and that understanding. And
Or where
I'll
you
tell you,
came
like,
from, you know?
it's been amazing.
Mm. And the
It's been
display of
amazing.
endurance.
Yeah.
So,
I,
you say
carry
sober
on, Annie.
community. That's okay. I'm just gonna keep talking over you today.
You
Sorry.
deserve. I deserve it because I did it to you the last time when Mike Moulton was here. So this is a recompense. I
Oh,
deserve it.
geez, that was a long time ago. I already forgot about that. So,
Hey, Daniela,
when
can I
you
ask you
talk
a quick
about your
question?
yeah,
Sorry, did you say you can't see my video, or was that, did I hear
that
you
was
say that
Chris.
earlier?
I can see him
Oh,
now.
okay. Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted to
No, I
check.
can see you. I've been
Sorry.
able to see you the whole time. I just didn't see Chris.
Oh,
That's
okay.
another God shot. No, I love you, Chris. I'm just teasing. Chris is my
I know because I've done the same to you, darling. I can receive
he's
a
my
take as well
pal.
as dish out. You were saying,
So
Luke?
Yeah, no,
my
Danielle
question
I
is
think asked. Yeah.
yeah, so when you say your sober community, who do you mean? Not referring to who specifically, but do you have a program? Do you talk with people? Do you meet people? Do you consider Instagram? Like, what is your sober community?
I would
Would
say
you
my sober
say?
community is predominantly my Instagram sober community. The people that
Mm-hmm.
I've connected with a lot on Instagram. I've kind of been on
It's amazing.
Instagram for the last 10 months on Instagram about
Hmm.
sobriety,
Hmm.
creating this account, sharing a lot, and I've connected with so many amazing people. I consider one my close friends. Honestly, we haven't met in person,
I
but
know.
we're messaging each other, and it's like I said earlier, it's that mutual respect and that understanding that
Very.
we have with each other. So my sober community is for sure my online community, and I've met some great friends. We talk on FaceTime or video often. We've gotten to know each other pretty well. We're kind of inspiring and bringing people up. If I've had a bad day or I was thinking about something, I'll give you an example. When I first started talking about my sobriety, in this moment of empowerment that I was feeling, sharing, there was a part of my story, the
Hmm.
drugs, that I didn't want to talk about because I was so caught up with how people would take that and receive that. So
Sure.
I didn't share. I didn't talk
Hmm.
about the drugs for already about 6 months of the 10 months that I've been doing that I've been so open. And I was messaging,
Hmm.
Brad, a very good friend that I met in this community, and he was like, "Hey, look, that's totally fine. Like when you're ready." Like he wasn't saying, "Hey, you should do it." He was like, "When you're ready, you'll know
Right.
if you're ready." And just being like how like open he was and made me feel comfortable. And of all people, too, my wife. I was talking to my wife, Lisa, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think of me talking about the drugs?" She's like, "Look, I mean, you should, yes, because that's your story." And I was like, "Okay." So, anyways, the community, just like the people online, has been amazing. I never knew about this community until I started kind of
Yeah.
reaching into Instagram. But my sober community,
Yeah.
that's a huge part of it. I have a handful of friends
Yeah.
growing up that are sober, so they're 1000% part of the
Oh, that's
community.
great.
We talk. I see them at a wedding, and it's so nice to see that, hey, we're sober together and we get it. And honestly, I would say that my community is people that I meet in person instantly. I was at a restaurant the other day and I was ordering a non-alcoholic beer. The waitress was also sober.
That makes
So
sense.
we became instant
No
friends, like
kidding.
instant friends. So we
That makes
exchanged,
sense.
hey, instantly. So the community is not just this online thing. It's not just your old friends who are sober. The community is anybody who's not drinking, who
Yes.
is looking, just someone who's, you know, um, like that positive vibe, kind of not drinker. I'm sure there's people who don't drink that are still grumpy and they're just miserable, and
They're old
yeah,
fucks.
like I don't really have I don't have patience. I don't have time for that. So the community is anyone
Hey, a lot of
open-minded,
people don't do
right?
the work. Yes,
Exactly.
and that's the good thing. But a lot of people are not
Exactly.
open-minded. They don't want to
Exactly.
do the work. It's
Exactly.
painful.
It
So,
is. It is so
I
painful.
mean, we could pray for it is. It's very painful. And that's why I'm so curious. Like, because me personally, I did the 12 steps. And I mean, I don't know what I would have done without them. I mean, that's just my experience.
Yep.
Everyone has a different experience. But like
Yep.
being able to get all those things out that I had to get out through this program, there's a whole process, and it really worked well for me because I needed to find that place within me that was like, okay, like the humility, the people I wrong, So I'm just curious, like, were you, did you work with a therapist? Did you just work on yourself individually by yourself, just like through the years, you know, kind of gaining your person back, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, it's different for every person. For me,
Yeah.
what worked well for me is that I did therapy. I did a lot of
Yeah.
therapy, and then group therapy.
Okay.
My therapist had recommended me
Oh,
to. It's called
that's great.
CAMH, Center of
Mm-hmm.
Addiction and Mental Health. So I did some
Mm-hmm.
group therapy there, and that was very eye opening. Right, not feeling alone, which
Very.
was so important. But
That
then
is.
after that, I did a lot of it on my own. I mean, and I'm not saying like that's probably not the right way to do it because I did struggle a lot. I really did. And
Yeah.
if I could, looking back, or I mean, I don't have no regrets because I feel like everything brought me to this moment, including all my very
I
dark
like your
moments.
mindset.
But I think that like the advice I would maybe have for somebody, it's that like lean into that community, get involved with that community early,
Mm-hmm.
early, and be proud of your sobriety. I was so embarrassed of
Mm.
my sobriety.
Mm.
Nobody knew I was sober because I would just avoid it, or I would just never
Mm.
talk, or make excuses. Like I'd make excuses. And when I came out about my sobriety, I was 5 years. So that's when I hit my 5 year mark, the 5 year anniversary, December
Yeah.
31st. And then like January 6th, I created this account. I started talking, and so many of my friends, colleagues, had no idea that I wasn't drinking for that amount of time. Like 5 years. Like, Luke, what are you talking about?
Wow.
I saw you at a restaurant the other day. You were drinking a beer. I'm like, that was a non-alcoholic beer. And I didn't talk about it. I just avoided it. Like I didn't want everyone to know because I was so
Yeah.
embarrassed. But then as soon as I
Oh,
created
wow.
this account and I started opening up and just sharing, and it gave me so much confidence. And
Mm.
it's really, I've
Interesting.
talked a lot about this, is that I had an identity shift. So sobriety became part of my identity, like identify as a sober person. And when I did that
Mm.
shift,
Mm-hmm.
it like changed. It just immediately changed. And I want others to know you don't need to be sober for 5 years to make that shift. You could be sober like one day, like right now, make that shift. Like you're sober, like you're a sober person. You can
Yeah.
do this. It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be so hard, but you can do this, and it's gonna be the best thing you'll ever do for yourself.
Well
That's
said, my good squire. Well
Yeah.
said. Oh, and let me just say, when I mentioned old fucks, I meant it as a synonym for fellow. I didn't mean it as an insult. But, you know, it's wonderful to see a guy like you at 6 years sober speaking so confidently. I almost think that we as the recovery community should be registered as a subspecies of alien because we don't think the way that the normies do as a whole. And, I said it as well to some other people whom we've had on the show, collectively alike, that when we talk to someone who is in recovery and has been a former addict, it's almost as though they have not had any addiction before because of how well they have recovered in their journey. And I'm sure that must have been your perception as well when you first either walked into a room or when you got involved in the recovery community in the first place. Meeting someone like Alex, for example, I mean, how beautiful is that girl? But I mean,
I love. She's amazing, gorgeous.
but not in the least will she ever tread back and not talk about the horrors that she suffered and about the horrible realities
Mhm.
of addiction. There are some knowledgeable people. And can I use another prime example? Take a look at this beautiful blonde right here. She can qualify as the next generation of Marilyn Monroe. She smoked meth for many, many years. And she also had a
Wow.
torrid time, and she speaks openly, rather, about it. And this is what I love most about the process. The end goal, obviously, of
Yeah,
course, is to stay stopped and to enjoy this new life. But we continually learn. And there's a measure of fearlessness that has to start taking over. You agree with me on that one?
totally. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And I, what I'll say is, it's like the people who like the addicts that you're talking about, right? Like I was an addict
Mm.
100%, right? Daniela,
Yeah.
like I see Alex, like so many people in this community. They're they're so like anyone who's struggling with this kind of stuff. You need to know that you're a special person because when you commit to something, like when you're addicted to something, like you have so much in you that like energy and like you'll do anything for that thing. If you shift that power, that motivation or whatever that thing that makes you so addicted to the thing, when you remove that and you heal and you get over that and you just put that energy into something good for you,
Mm.
it's amazing
Mm.
what you're going to achieve. Amazing, right? Like Danielle,
Yeah.
look at you. You have this such a successful podcast. Like you've shifted that energy into something good for you. Alex, right? She's into sports and she's
Very
into
much.
athletics and very much into bodybuilding. And she's killing it. And she's got a very the Sober Active Canada movement that she's doing.
Correct.
She's
Yeah.
amazing.
Superactive
And
Canada.
we're all kind of like the people who struggled the most thrive the most in this movement. And
Exactly.
it's not like a switch and it's so easy. Like it takes time. Everyone's story is different.
Very.
It takes everyone's way to get there is different. But the end result is that
Yeah.
these are the people that are thriving the most. Rich Roll, love this guy, ultra marathoner. His huge, like just reading about him and watching him. He struggled. He didn't think he was going to make it. He didn't think he was going to make
Mm.
it. And he had a post that I recently shared. He's like, I didn't reach my athletic peak until I was 43. I didn't start my podcast until I was 46. I didn't, what's the other thing he said? It was all
I
these
saw
things that
that.
you
That
do in
was
your
cool.
late 40s. And it's like,
Mm.
Yeah.
how inspiring is that? It's like, just
Very.
because,
Very.
we're getting older doesn't mean that our times, like our prime is past us. Absolutely not. So,
As you get older, you get better. You don't get worse. I had a similar conversation with Danny in the week. Um, if there's one big insult to society, and especially in the business world, there's this crap that you call a sell by date. Now, I'm sorry to say, people aren't a carton of milk that goes bad. So there's no such thing as a sell by date. You either grow
Yeah.
or you become stale. And I'm talking about in skills now. But I'd also like to go out on a limb here and say that you can even become stale if your thinking doesn't evolve.
Oh yeah.
But I'm
That's for
speaking about for
damn
the
sure.
better, not for the worse.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
either way though, it can, it's that's the having 16 years in recovery now. The thing that
Wow.
I've noticed the most in staying sober, because I couldn't stay sober one day, not even one single day in over 15 years. Every day I had to have something. So being able to live now that amount of time without something, I I would not have been able to do that if I didn't keep growing and seeking out, my soul more, just getting deeper and listening more. And I love going on Instagram because it's a lot of the new people that are
Mm.
getting sober, like in their first year, and that is the most exciting time. The first 10 years, it's like the pink cloud. And of course there's times where it's not going to be as bright, but because that's a lot of years. But you look at these people and they're just, you see the light in their eye, and it's so amazing. But after 10 years, it's not like it's a set date or something, but I notice I've kind of changed, like as far as if I kind of just rest on my laurels just a little bit. I'm talking about physical activity, my health, which I have horrible health. I'm working on all these things. It's that disease is sitting in there and it's doing push-ups, and it's literally knocking on my door saying, like, it's okay, you can have a beer.
Mhm.
Maybe it's fun.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and you don't know where these thoughts are coming from, and it's because you're sober 15 years and you don't really think about
Yeah.
it anymore. It's not
Yeah.
something you worry about. I
Yeah.
mean, it taking the action is a lot different, but you just think like these thoughts, so you have to keep your mind growing constantly. That's why I do
Mm.
this, because I get to talk to
Yeah.
interesting people. There's no I don't get anything out of this. I just get to meet with Chris every week. He's one of my best friends. I get to meet new people,
Bitter, babe.
and you have to just keep learning, about
Yeah.
the disease, about helping people. And are you helping a lot of people with your
No,
Instagram? Like, you probably get
hon-
a lot of comments, right?
honestly, Daniela, thank you for sharing that, because again, going back to listening, like 100%. I've been listening a lot to different people, and it's kind of helped me a lot. But
Hmm.
but the sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Um,
That's okay.
Not taking it for granted. Not taking it for granted.
Mm.
Yeah,
A hundred
that.
percent.
Hmm.
You cannot take this for granted. Every day, it's a conscious decision. Every single day that we're making. Yeah, and your thought, Daniela,
Hmm.
about the beer. I can have a beer. Oh my God, I think about that a lot. Maybe not every day, but certainly when I'm walking, the areas with all the restaurants and people on the patios, and it's a sunny day,
Right.
I think to myself, just like you, Danielle,
Exactly.
I have been sober for so long. We've been so good. Like, you deserve it. You can have a drink. You can have one beer. Like, come on.
The madness of the
Um,
first
so
drink.
so
It's
that
so
that it's interesting.
refreshing.
It is, right, but it's so interesting to hear that especially someone like you who has a lot of experience here. I guess it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away,
No,
that
No.
voice, right?
never.
So that's interesting. That's interesting. But I know you asked me a question, but I want to ask you a question back.
Have you reached out to other
What do you
people and
do? What do
counsel
you do?
them?
Oh, sorry, I was asking Danielle
Well,
another question. What do you do when your mind
that's
starts
okay.
racing about that?
Well, one of the things that I've done is, like, I'm not a church person or anything like that. I'm a spiritual person. And the only thing that really does help me a lot is helping others, for sure, because
Yeah,
it takes me right out of myself. I can hear their problems, and they're a lot worse than any that I have. Um, and as long as I'm doing that, I don't get those thoughts very often. But if I'm constantly looking, like reading my prayer books in the morning, the AA stuff and some of the other stuff. I like the Al-Anon. It's really good stuff. And there's personal growth. Every morning I listen to personal growth. Nothing to do with addiction. Just learning constantly about how I can learn more about myself and how I can better myself and my soul. I'm
Mm.
interested.
yeah,
Mm.
And I think it's really just evolving spiritually is what has kept me sober, because it's
yeah.
just as good, if not better, than any drink or drug I've ever had, which is
Wow.
kind of weird for me to say, because I never had a God, never even been to a church, like, or had any relation with anything higher than myself. I didn't even realize what the word hope was. It just wasn't something that I even thought about. But
Wow.
now it's like I see it. I know when it happens. I know when these things, I can just go, oh my gosh, that was meant to be. That's okay. I'm just going to leave it to God. I don't have to worry about it. It's none of my business. It'll be what it's going to be. I don't try to control people anymore. I don't try to tell them what the right way to do things is. And that was a big thing. I mean, for alcoholics, we like to, we're kind of manipulative and we're a bit narcissistic. So we like to tell people, we're the leaders of the group always, right? And so
Mm.
we want to direct and we want to push
Yeah.
everybody, and we want to put the actor in their place, and then we want to call the shots, and that's hard for people like us not to do that. So
Yeah.
as I've gotten older in my sobriety, I've just totally just stepped back and truly have become a different person. I mean, really, I
Wow.
became a different person when I stopped doing drugs, selling my body, and carving holes in my chin. But now it's like I'm not even a person that needs to be in the spotlight anymore. I have to force myself to do
Wow.
these reels. But it's such a different human being. It's just like, I don't do the same things, they're just, and I think it's just part of getting, the
Wow.
years go by and you evolve and you become, and
I
stuff
love
like
that,
that. So
Danielle.
how
We,
old are
we should
you, by the
connect.
way?
We
I'm
should
curious.
connect. We should connect more. I'm really, that's awesome. I'm 38.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 38.
Okay.
And also, while you're talking, I was thinking, how many years have you said you're sober? You said how many? How many years sober?
16.
16. See,
16?
I can't
Yeah.
even imagine how just society, I find, like come a long way. Even the last 5 years, like in Toronto and Canada, like
Mm.
you won't, very rare you'll see a restaurant or bar that doesn't serve non-alcoholic. We go in our
Mm.
LCBO, which is
Yeah.
where we
Oh
buy
yeah.
our booze, and there's non-alcoholic sections, like they're getting bigger and bigger, and this is
Toronto's always
becoming
been a
like
very progressive city, I find in my
it
research.
is, but I can't even imagine being sober 16 years ago and just like how different like that. Anyways, like today it's like I find it's like we, it's like cool to be sober. Like it's getting to that point
Yeah.
where being
Oh,
like if you start
Mm.
saying I don't drink, people are going to be like that's cool. Or my cousin doesn't drink or what. Like it's getting more like mainstream. I don't know if that's the right word, but
Very.
it's getting more like
it's
common. So
absolutely
like
true.
and it like that's it's making it easier, and that's why like people like you, Daniela, who've been you know so vocal for so long and sharing in this podcast. It's like it's getting help breaking the stigma slowly but surely, and
Mm.
that's a beautiful
Oh yeah.
thing because it makes like even people like me like so much easier because there's, for example, there's these other accounts that I've been following, they've been doing it. It's like, hey, if this person can do it and like they're confident, like I can see, like I look at them like, wow, like that's incredible. Like I want to be like that. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that, there's
Hmm.
some people that are following me, like friends of friends. And it's not even people that are responding to me. It's like, I feel like sometimes I'm so surprised at the message I'll get from somebody who's been, say, following me for
Yeah.
a bit and hasn't said a word. And then all of a sudden they're like, so I'm always thinking about that. And like, I'm always thinking about it's the person that you're that's listening or inspired by you that doesn't say anything to you. And I'm sure like a lot of
Yes.
people think I'm crazy. A lot of people think I'm crazy, and that's okay. Sometimes I wake up and I think I'm crazy. You Google my name, I'm all over the internet as the sober person, right? I take my career very seriously. And it's like,
Hmm.
what's the risk there? And anyways,
Hmm.
it's like the more I'm sharing, you can tell I'm really passionate about this, right? Like
You are.
I'm not,
You
Yeah.
are. No doubt.
I'm not making any money here. My intent is not to make any money here. I'm doing this from my heart. This is a passion project I
Mm.
had no
Hmm.
idea this was in me. I had no idea I would be so excited to talk about this because I know it's life changing. That's why
Yeah.
it's life changing. So the more I've been like talking and sharing, the more it helps me. The
Hmm.
more it helps me. Just like you said, Daniela, the more it's
Correct.
Yeah.
helping you, the more it's helping me. And then you get those occasional messages from people, and they're just like, in their own way, they're saying thank you, and keep going because you're helping me. Like that gives me so much. It gives me so
Mm,
much.
That's that thing that I was talking about. That it's like it's such a feeling that you get, when you actually help somebody, whether it's by your videos or just in the store talking to them because they're about to get a drink or whatever. It's
Yeah,
that feeling. It's like it's a spiritual thing. I mean, one person helping another to not die is pretty fucking spiritual. Excuse my language, and that's what I'm talking about. The depth and the weight. You got it. Alcoholics, we need
yeah,
depth and weight. We need substance. We
yeah,
are intellectual beings that are very complicated, but we're good people, and we thrive off of helping people, and that's how I stay sober mostly.
correct.
I
And
know.
Luke, if anyone ever tells you that you're crazy, retort with this. The distance between madness and genius is measured purely by success.
Cool. I like that. I like that. I like that. And another thing that kind of came to mind when you said that was how does it go? It's better to be consistently good than occasionally great. It's better to be consistently
Mm,
good than occasionally amazing
yeah.
or great. Like every day, right? It's a check in with yourself. It's every single day you work on it. Same, like, I'll give you an example of my
A
running,
checkup
right?
from the neck up.
Yeah, or it's like my running. I take pretty seriously. Like, I love it. It's a hobby.
Mm.
Let's be serious. It's a
Yeah.
hobby that I really enjoy.
For me
But
too.
like,
I love it.
are you a runner too, Chris?
2 kilometers every day.
See, that's
Oh
it.
my
That's
god.
it. Wow. How long have you been doing that, Chris?
2 months.
That's amazing. 2 kilometers every
Why didn't
day.
I know about this? That's awesome.
And how are you liking it?
Well, you know what? I did it purely for mental health. I've struggled
Mm.
with depression in the past for a myriad of reasons. But someone said to me, try running. One of my advisors in college was a champion athlete, powerlifter. And he said, if you want to survive in this business, you've got to keep your fitness up because it's fast paced, consistently every given day, and especially as technology has marched forward. I'll save you that detail. And I just relocated to the mountains about 3 months ago, and there's a beautiful path spanning from my house and almost in a 360-degree circumference. And I had this measured on one of these runner apps that it's 2 kilometers to and fro, which takes me about 10, 15 minutes to run in totality. And I have to tell you, Luke, when you start, you begin with that brisk walk to warm up, and then when it goes to that flat out run, everything just falls away. But when I walk into my house afterwards, whatever crap and muck I was feeling, it's just dissipating. And it's almost spiritual in the sense of when I've gotten that physical motion out of the way, now I can concentrate on my day. You with me on that?
Oh, 1,000%. 1,000%. And why I'm running so much and why I like it is what it does for my mindset and my mind and my patience, and there's so many things. And if the days
Mm.
I don't run, I mean, like, recovery is very important, like, not in running
Naturally,
and stuff, but
naturally.
not obviously, but like the days I'm not running, or I can't do a run for whatever reason, like, I'm more irritable. I'm telling you right now. It's like having coffee,
You're
Yeah,
like,
I'd
you
telling
don't have
agree.
a
me.
coffee in the morning, like, you're gonna go all morning with a coffee, like, that's crazy to me. Like, I love coffee. So I have one coffee a day, and I need my coffee. But it's like, if I don't have my running is like my coffee. If I don't have my and it really is like my therapy.
Mm.
So to hear you,
Correct.
Chris, starting out with the 2K, doing that consistently, I mean, that's
Mm.
whoever advised you is a very good, smart person, and that's awesome, Chris. So continue doing that, and you're going to see as you're continuing every day doing the 2 kilometers, it's going to start getting easier, and then maybe you'll up it to 2.5 or 3 kilometers, and you'll
That's the
see like
plan.
just add
That's so great.
it's consistent. It's a consistent thing, and you're going to look
And the
back
funniest
and you're
thing
going to be like, wow.
happened. The funniest thing happened when I began running. I developed abs. How did that happen?
That fast? 2 months? Wow,
that
that's pretty
that
good.
fast.
You're freaking
But
Superman, bro.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
but I wanted to ask you: do you still do weightlifting apart from the running?
So I like to say I do. I don't. It's like recently I ran a marathon, the Toronto Marathon, October 16th. So the last little bit, it's like I'm running, 140 kilometers a week. It's a lot of running. I know I should be
Sure.
Wow.
doing some cross training,
Wow.
but that now it's off season. I just right. If I had my last marathon of the year, I have 4 races scheduled. Like a couple days later, I started getting the marathon blues, where you kind of like have this one event that's like control, like a huge part of what you're doing every single day is like this marathon. Then once
Yeah.
it's done, it's like, okay, well, what now? So I signed up for 4 races in 2023. So now that's kind of off season. I haven't ran since the marathon. I'm big on recovery. I train hard, I recover hard. So I'm
Sure.
planning on going at least 2 weeks
Mhm.
without any running, and as a runner, that's a long time. So yesterday we went biking
I was
as a
about to
family, and
say.
slow, like easy bike.
Yeah.
So I'd like to do some more. I'd like to do some more weights this winter to kind of keep my my strength. It's important to maintain, right? You got to keep your
Very
strength,
much.
because injury. It's so easy to get injured
Yeah.
in running
I
and
was a
any sport.
I was a rugby player when I was in my teens, and I broke my knee. And I find that with the running, that tendon that I had damaged starts to act up again. But with weight training, thankfully, it helps to keep that in check. It's one of those. It's
Yeah,
one of those. If you like pull a hamstring, for example, that condition will always be there and it will flare up. But if you at least take care of it
yeah,
moderately, in
yeah,
moderation, the
yeah,
risk is low that you won't be able to exacerbate it and then ultimately tear that muscle and cause a greater medical issue. And I just
yeah,
asked out of curiosity because how my day goes is I run my own business, meaning that certain time in the morning, go for the 2K, recuperate for let's say 6 hours, then in lunch after my lunch break or whatsoever, then I hit the weights, do a nice 45 minutes, sweat a half a liter out on the exercise mat, then absolutely nothing can go wrong. And I don't wake up stiff,
beautiful,
none of it.
beautiful. That's
But
awesome.
it's there's something for everybody, much like recovery. If you want
Yeah,
to run, that's it. That's fine. And you feel like your body can handle that exclusively, great. But there's nothing wrong with combining. It all depends on your mindset and then of course your body type. You get endomorph,
totally.
mesomorph, ectomorph. So it all depends on your body type and of course your schedule, especially
Totally.
as we have integrated back into society after the hard lockdown.
Yep.
Luke,
Well said.
it's so hard because with when I first got sober, I would run, and running was a big part, and I never ran in my life, and I loved it. I was fit. I couldn't even believe the way that it would make me feel. I could run farther than I ever dreamed of running. And it was just I put on that trance music and just run, and it was
Yep.
such a great feeling. I would run around the neighborhood with a tire, big truck tire and a plastic suit. I was really athletic.
Wow.
I was a
Yeah.
stunt woman for movies, right?
Oh,
So
wow.
dirt
Very cool.
bikes, everything. I was just, but now, like in my 16 years of sobriety, I'm dealing with really bad health conditions. Like I've got a lot of things. I don't want to go through the list, but
Yeah.
so now I can't use weights. They tell me everything I can't use, but I don't really think of it like that. The one thing that I can do is swim. That's the one. And
Yep.
I've, it's been tough because there's a lot of time, like you have to manage your
Yep.
time and you have to take care of yourself. And I've been thinking a lot about that lately. Why the hell am I doing this or posting this or um, doing something that I don't need to do when I really need to just swim? Because it can
Yep.
really get to you. Like I was in the bed last week, I couldn't walk, like I have a spinal arthritis, and I walked a certain way, and it was done. I was like in the bed for 4 days, and then it's like you start to really get depressed. So, as you get older, you deal with different issues, like I never had these
Mhm.
issues in my younger sobriety years. I thought I was just like I thought I was when I was using and drinking, like I'd last forever. So now, and I find that a lot of people, as they get older, they're going to come with some medical issues, but you know, even when you take good care of yourself, like I did, I've always
Mhm.
eaten really healthy. And my husband is a strict built bodybuilder. Like he's really, so I've always been really into, but now you face challenges is what my point
Yeah.
is in sobriety as the
Yeah.
years go by, and stuff that you never imagined. But just as much as of the stuff that I never imagined going wrong, there's so much more that I did not imagine that was a miracle, you know. And every day that um that we're here, it's like all we can do is just stay in today. I know
Mm.
that I'm gonna
Yeah.
have issues later in life. I know I'm gonna
Yeah.
suffer. I suffer every
Yeah.
day, basically. I have chronic pain, but I don't take anything for it.
Wow.
And it's hard. It's really hard. But it's like we are so lucky. I think of all the shit that I've done in my sobriety that I would never have been able to do. I never even thought about traveling the entire world. I've traveled a lot with my folks. They were in television and we traveled everywhere. But now it's like every year I go to, like, I'm going to Greece. I'm going back to Bali because that's my favorite place. But
Awesome.
it's just like the things we get to do. It's
Yeah.
truly amazing. So
Yeah.
just keep doing what you're doing. Like you're on the
Yeah.
right path. And the real good thing about you, Luke, is that you have a great stage presence. I guess I can say, like, you really have a good message. It's clear.
Oh
It's
yeah.
it's upbeat, and it's not corny. It's funny. It's knowledgeable. So, and that's why I asked you to be on the show, because I was like, he's
Mm.
kind of a cool guy. I think I want to get to know this guy. So what
Thank you.
you're doing is working, and it's totally relatable. So I like to
Thank you for
babble,
saying
and
that.
I'm done now.
No, thank you for saying that, Daniela. Thank you for saying that. And it's been it's been fun. Like honestly, like I said, it's been
Yeah.
a lot of fun. I'm enjoying it. It's helping me a ton. I feel like I'm helping a few people along the way. And actually, just recently, like I don't want to just do funny reels. Like that's fun, but it's like where's the value? So
Yeah.
I've been pushing myself, kind of like what else can I do? And yesterday
Hmm.
I hosted my first men only uh, support group on Zoom just for men.
That's
And
awesome.
we had our first meeting yesterday. There were 12 people who joined, all people who
Oh,
follow
that's
me,
great.
and it was so amazing, Daniela. Like I don't know, it was just got lucky with these guys. Like everyone was so connected, and it was
Mm.
like very very much like cut from the same cloth. Like it was so refreshing. And we had one person who was 24 days sober, so it was a kind of a mixed experience or mixed journey in sobriety.
Wow.
One person was 24 days sober, and he was talking about this fishing
Hmm.
trip he had coming up with his buddies, and he hasn't told them that he wasn't drinking. It's been 24 days, and everyone was kind of behind this guy and just jumping in with different things, what to do, what they would have done, maybe done different. Like it was so, just to be a part of that, it was so uplifting. And I can't,
That's
we're gonna do them
awesome.
every 2 weeks, every 2 Mondays at whatever 8 o'clock, and I can't wait. Like it just that like uplifting kind of spirit of like helping
That's
each other.
great.
That's a sober community right there. And even though like I've been
That
sober
is.
for what, almost 6 years, just listening to these people, to these guys, and like how we connected. Like it wasn't for the camera, it wasn't for Instagram, it wasn't for the follows and the likes that like what happens with Instagram. It was just a genuine like, hey, we're all here for each other. And we ended up talking way more than we thought. It was like an hour, almost 2 hours we were talking. And
Mm.
That's
I came
awesome.
back and my wife was like, you're still going? I'm like, yeah, it was amazing. She's like, awesome. I'm so proud of you for doing that.
She's like,
So I guess
awesome.
I'm
It's a
talking.
men's group.
Yeah, it's a men's group. Exactly. Because I'm seeing so much
She has
woman
nothing to worry
empowerment.
about.
I'm seeing so many amazing women that are, sharing, and like, I haven't seen much for men. And I wanted to create like a space for men, because it is different.
Clever thinking.
Men have a lot of egos and
Mm.
pride, and just like raising your hand to say you need help
Yes.
is like, for some people, it's like, I can't imagine doing that, especially like half Italian. My dad was Italian, from Italy, and he struggled a lot with alcohol, and like he couldn't do this and say I need help. Like he couldn't.
Right.
So like I think about my dad a lot too in this thing, and how he would he passed away in 2014, right around the time that my drugs got pretty bad. He passed away, and now I think a lot, like he would look at me and how proud he would be of me, and it makes me feel really good.
Well, you know what? I think that is the best note to end off on. And Luke, needless to say, you've given us really so much. And Danny, I really want to say congratulations to you. You've really popped as a host tonight. You've popped as a host. Folks, that has been Doing It Sober Live for this week. An extended thank you goes out to Luc Zoratto from Toronto, Canada. I was just wanting to say at the beginning of the episode, Toronto's the home of one of the best radio duos, Humble and Fred. And we would like to thank you as well for tuning in. If you've missed out, you're more than welcome to check out the on-demand of Doing It Sober Live, which is available on Apple Podcasts and wherever else that you get your podcast to. I am Chris Nell. That's Danielle over there. That is Luke over there. Luke, grazie amico.
Thank you so much.
Whoa, that was one heck of an exit.
He dropped the mic there. I think he dropped the phone.
Holy crap. Luke, thank you so much. And, we'd love to have you come back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Danielle. And we'll connect. I want to hear more from your side too. So thanks again for having me.
You got it. And thanks everybody that was live.